doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Boswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
I'm David C. Chavis, personal injury attorney. For over 4 decades, our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no fault of their own. I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans. I received my bachelor's degree at NMSU and earned my law degree at UNM. I can proudly say I'm both an Aggie and a Lobo. Call now and I will meet with you. 40 years strong, and we're still as local as red and green.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros,
state soon to be, the Mountain West throwing a lifeline to a future member, and people were upset yesterday. On a scale of 1 to 2, this is awful. This is like a 4. Does it throw some scheduling challenges in there for teams? Just a month away from the season for some of the Olympic sports, like soccer. We're still a few months away from basketball getting going, but we haven't had the schedule release yet for the conference. Got to retool that. Who's going to play who twice? Who misses out on those games? You want to see in the final year of the Mountain West, Lobos, Boise State, Utah State, San Diego State. You'd love to see those games multiple times. But the Mountain West threw a future member a lifeline yesterday, and that was welcoming in Grand Canyon a year earlier than they anticipated. And Grand Canyon's going to hit the ground running. They're going to be able to play for conference championships right away. So it's a new challenge across the board. Grand Canyon has not just good men's and women's basketball programs, some other strong Olympic sports programs. Yeah, and it's another hurdle for coaches and teams to deal with going into the next season. But when you look at the fallout from it, again, it is the teams that wanted nothing to do with you screaming the loudest that this is awful and this is why they're leaving the Mountain West Conference. What it do, and happy Wednesday, everyone. Welcome into the opening drive right here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, Zay Johnson with you this morning. Adrian holding it down on ProView Networks. So the litigation is still ongoing. The exit fees, that has yet to be fully decided of how much money those schools are going to owe leaving the Mountain West Conference. You're looking at Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Utah State on their way out to what they feel is greener pastures. They want to become a power conference. Media deal, not quite that. But on the way out, what makes you think you're going to get to decide the future of the Mountain West Conference? You wanted nothing to do with this conference. You complain about it all the time. You say these are all the teams that are holding you back, despite the Mountain West having the best non-power conference track record of at-large bids over the last 4 years on the men's side of the NCAA tournament. Despite Boise State getting to the college football playoff last season, it's still the Mountain West Conference that has been holding all these schools back. The altitude, which they're not totally getting away from, but oh my goodness, having to play the Lobos in football. Oh my goodness, having to go to Laramie, Wyoming. It's not like all these places that are bouncing are glamorous either, yo. In Fresno, California, it ain't the beach. But the finger pointing, the complaining, the wanting to have everything your way, and it's always the Mountain West's fault, don't let that door hit you on the way out. Good thing you get to keep your shoes on when you go through TSA when you're making your way to the Pac State Conference. You can understand some of the frustration because it is with the Mountain West schools as well that are remaining. The adjustment to the schedule. It's not necessarily clean, but what's clean in college athletics right now? Grand Canyon is a future member of the Mountain West Conference that they threw a lifeline to because they were in limbo. No more WAC. They weren't going to be in the West Coast Conference. The West Coast Conference wasn't going to open their arms to Grand Canyon for a year when they've committed to come to the Mountain West. So a future member that wants to be a part of your conference moving forward, they threw them a lifeline. And San Diego State, in a statement to the San Diego Union Tribune yesterday, said, quote, the university was not consulted or permitted to vote on the early invitation in Grand Canyon University, which is surprising and disappointing given prior representations that the Mountain West and its commissioner made to SDSU, and the negative impact this decision will have on already planned athletic competition schedules for this academic year. In the statement from the Aztecs athletic department continued, we will need to evaluate this announcement and make adjustments due to this addition. Now you go to Boise State. Boise State University released a statement. It was a little more stern. It said, quote, we will address this matter and the harm to the departing universities in the litigation, which, again, is still ongoing. And these schools, I get it, you don't want to pay the massive exit fee, but everyone signed that deal. The Mountain West could see what was happening in the corner. We knew that Washington State and Oregon State were going to want to rebuild the Pac-12. And just by thinking that they have that branding, that they're going to slide right into a power. That's not the case. Yes, the Pac-12 is known nationally more so than the Mountain West. But just because you have that name does not mean you'll live up to it. It's going to be a good basketball conference. It's to be determined in football. So you got Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, the Aztecs, Utah State, Texas State, Washington State, and Oregon State. I don't think the college football world is clamoring over that. It's like they weren't clamoring over the Mountain West, but yet it still did not deter Boise State from having success. To me, this is a situation where, yeah, there's some uncomfortable scheduling questions that will have to be answered, but it's not altering like how good these teams can be. That's another challenge. Life has challenges. In fact, that Grand Canyon can compete right away for conference championships, I'm sure it scares some coaches, frustrates these universities. But what are these schools, San Diego State, Boise State, what do you expect? They're trying to get everything for free. They're trying to get everything their way. And when the Mountain West says, hey, we're wanting to do something on our end, where we understand it might create some challenges, but this is a team that's committed to us. We want to give them a lifeline because they have nowhere to go. And you're going to act like you should be able to say no to that decision when you're on your way out? I'm looking at you too, Washington State and Oregon State. When all those teams left the Pac to go to their new destinations, the Big 10 and Big 12, they fought tooth and nail to keep all that money in the exit fees and everything that was owed to them so they could eventually buy out some other conference, which they did with those Mountain West schools. Now the Mountain West is trying to do the same thing to keep the money that is owed to them in the business process of leaving conferences. These schools want to cry river. You moved on to the Pac. You're leaving. Deal with it, and let's go. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal hotline, and I believe text line. Starting to get that going, so you can send some texts in this morning, get involved with the show. 505-246-0610. Emails at jj@sportsanimalabq.com. You can also find me on the X_JJ Buck. But Zano, you've been diving into this now, being in this market, looking at the Mountain West Conference. How do you feel about the departing schools trying to play victim in this situation?
So naturally, I always like to see all sides. So I'm just trying to figure out what the catch is here. Like, I feel like it's got to, there's not that it's validated, but I feel like there's got to be something more than just they don't want to pay because they're on the way out. You know, I just don't know.
Well,
are the fees more expensive than, say, like, what's the comparison of what these schools are having to pay compared to the schools last year when they were throwing a fit?
Well, so the schools that are leaving, there was some stuff put in the contract that if you went, to the Pac specifically, it would be a bigger penalty because remember the Mountain West welcomed in a scheduling agreement, Oregon State and Washington State. The Mountain West was like, we'll help you out and work on the scheduling, which I don't think was the wrong move because you're trying to show those schools like, hey, maybe if we just merge, like you come together, whatever banner we're under, let's get this conference moving in the West because there's a void out West. But now you just have two conferences that aren't really that much better than each other one way or the other. Now the Pac State schools think that they are leaps and bounds better than what the Mountain West is going to look like moving forward. But the Mountain West protected themselves knowing that this could be a possibility. Like the Pac could come and just try to take the schools. So they added some exit fees into that penalty.
Do you think they're
penalty into those exit fees?
You think these schools are just trying to, like, maybe not necessarily take the fall or sacrifice, but they're trying to be the first ones to, like, start a new movement where schools don't have to pay these fees on the way out?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. They don't want to waste that money and then all of a sudden they go to the new Pac-12 and they're like, well, all this money we had from the other exit fees paid by, USC, UCLA, all those teams that left the Pac originally, which is what Oregon State and Washington State were using to lure the Mountain West teams away to cover those exit fees. Absolutely no one wants to pay this money. But it's business, you sign stuff, and you got to deal with it. And
yeah, that's why it seems so hard to figure out the catch, because I'm like, I think
they want to pay, man. They're just saying, hey, we were forced to sign these contracts. No one forced you to sign anything. Mountain West gave you the lifeline when you're Oregon State and Washington State to play these scheduling agreements. You came and tried to raid the schools. You pay the fee.
I was going to say, yeah, as I'm learning now, I guess that is kind of a... Now, if they had some type of... If they were trying to give the impression that they were forced or that they had to sign the contract or something, then I could see maybe what... But that's got to be the only thing they could be pushing here. I just feel like if you sign for something, like you sign it.
This is one where it does seem simple. Maybe you come down on the number a little bit and say, all right, if the exits with the penalties and everything, 135 million or whatever,
Still signed it, though.
Yeah, so maybe the Mountain West and the litigation would have come down and say, all right, we'll drop it to 115 and let's move on. Something along those lines. But it's been going on for over a month now. This litigation, it talks back and forth on trying to settle this, and it hasn't settled. So it really, the departing schools are trying to get out for pennies on the dollar.
Have schools always just been switching divisions, conferences like this, or is this new?
There's been conference realignment. We've seen it in the past.
But not like this, where there's like a transfer portal for schools now.
The last few years has been the biggest shift when we saw a conference completely dissolve. Yes. In the Pac.
Schools got a portal now. Players got a portal.
That's been biggest shift. We've seen it. The Mountain West was created because the WAC got up to like 16 teams, and then those schools left the Western Athletic Conference, created the Mountain West Conference back in 2000. So we've seen big conference moves, but nothing to this extent where an entire conference went away.
Yeah, like
Pac-12.
Like growing up watching Oregon, I never thought I'd see Oregon in the Big Ten. Yeah. Like that's still weird to me. I always just thought schools were like in those conferences because of where they're located, and that's where they'd always be.
Used to be. Now it's just about what you can do for your television deal, media rights. That's why Texas and Oklahoma, where you're like, yeah, those are Big 12 foundational members. That makes a ton of sense. Well, why would they join the SEC? More football money.
So you think television is as far as deep as like streaming? Because it's always been on television.
Television, right? The television rights deals have dictated college football realignment.
Okay. Or
college realignment centered around football. Because why did those Oregon, USC, UCLA need the Pac-12? More money in the Big Ten television contract.
I always thought it was like competition change.
No, there's more money in the television contract.
The more you know.
The more you know. 505-246-0610. So the departing schools, they're upset that they did not get a boat. Yeah, it's challenges. On a scale of 1 to 10, just 10 being like this is an outright disaster, they feel this is a 12. This is at 4. Yeah, some scheduling oddities that go in there. You got a team coming in to play for a championship right away. It's a new challenge. But again, Mountain West is throwing a lifeline to a future member and not letting the departing members who are fighting tooth and nail to not have to pay anything to the conference to decide what the future looks like. We'll continue to talk about this to follow out the statements from Grand Canyon right away. Boom, joining the Mountain West Conference, and they're going to hit the ground running, playing for championships. See what the schedule looks like when that comes out for basketball. But guess what? We do have Mountain West Football Media Days next week. I know Grand Canyon doesn't play football, but this is going to be a topic of conversation. The frustration, the litigation. Gloria Nevarez, the Mountain West Commissioner, the ADs in those rooms. It's going to be something to watch and just see how these schools are interacting. I think the coaches and players, yeah, they're fine. They're there, do their football conversations and move on. But, man, that stuff in the back room, the ADs, Mountain West Commissioner, the state of the conference address that she'll have to kick off Mountain West Media Days. Yeah, we'll be tuning in. And Sean Ryder from the Albuquerque Journal is going to join us in the 9 o'clock hour. He's going to drop in the studio for his beat reporter for Lobo football. But we'll get his thoughts on the final year of Mountain West football as we know it, what he's expecting next week in Las Vegas from really the commissioner, and there's the football. And we'll get into everything, too. We'll look at Big 12 Media Days, what the coaches are saying about it still being the wild, wild west despite the House settlement and the revenue sharing going through, the impact that the Lobos have had on the Big 12. Talked to him about Devin Dampier in Utah and so much more. So Sean Ryder will join us at 9 o'clock. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline. And, yes, text line starting to get going again. And, of course, you can always watch the show, ProView Networks, Adrian holding it down there. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today. If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Blue Bell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed gloves. I grew up here. New Mexico is in my blood. I'm a New Mexican fighting for other New Mexicans. I'm Adam Oki. I'll be your champion in the courtroom.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics. We would like to thank
the off season can be fun. NBA free agency, the NFL, the lead up to the draft. Man, college athletics needs the games now. They need whatever season is next, and I think it's soccer right around the corner. They hit, I think the pitch August 7th, UNM soccer, women's soccer will be playing. Like, they just need the games to get going because it just feels messy. Doesn't feel like anything's been solved. We knew it was going to take time, like just because the House settlement went through and allowing schools to now participate in revenue sharing, money directly going to student athletes. It wasn't just going to be a quick fix. Like, none of this is simple, and we're still seeing that play out right now. Big 12 Media Days started yesterday. You have Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham said, quote, "We don't know the rules. A settlement passed, but who knows what Deloitte is going to clear." That's the new clearinghouse for NIL deals. Until there's clarity, living in limbo. You are seeing a lot of people lie and promise fake things. Well, that feels like that's par for the course in recruiting. And then you have Cincinnati head coach Scott Satterfield. Quote, "I don't understand what rules everybody is playing by. The whole point of this was for us all to be playing by the same rules, but we're not. We're not playing by the same rules, particularly this past spring when everybody is apparently front-loading where others are having to now spend their revenue share cap." And quote, like, welcome to college athletics. It has been incredibly messy over the last few years trying to figure out the transfer portal, unlimited transfers, name, image, and likeness, now direct revenue, plus name, image, and likeness deals that were in place. Is it the collectives? Is it the schools? Are they working together? Are they two separate entities? Now, yeah, none of this stuff was going to be cleaned up overnight, but it still goes to show you how much needs to be done for everyone to get on the same page. JJ Bucks, A. Johnson with you this morning. The opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. It's not going to be easy, and none of this is going to be easy, but at what point they get to a point where there is essentially collective bargaining? I don't know if it's an outright players union.
Yeah.
But at some point, and you're still in it, man. You know a lot of guys that are playing college football right now. You just got done playing yourself a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, at some point in time, these, and I'm looking at athletes across the board, right? Like, there was a new lawsuit I was looking at yesterday about some players that exhausted eligibility, but, you know, they're trying to go down the Diego Pavia path.
Of course.
You know, again. And
I thought what he did just kind of trickled down to the rest. I guess not.
Yeah, there's you know, players I think have played more years than Diego. That, like, at what point you just, I know the money's there, right? You're suing because a lot of these guys, this is the most money they're ever going to make playing football. I get that. I understand it. But you gotta, like, at some point, everyone just has to stop suing. Like, not everything can be a lawsuit. Right?
Got a Kendrick fan over here.
Like, you can't, like, you don't need to be playing college football for 9 years.
Yeah, no, not at all. That's what pushed me. That's why I stopped. I could have kept going, but then again, of course, the money wasn't involved. That definitely would have changed a lot. So that's why, you know, at first I was 100% on the opposite side of, you know. Well, first things first. As far as the playing and the being on the field, you should not be. There has to be an age limit. Like, if you're gonna have kids that are older than the age of 24 or 20, I think 25, older than 25, I guess there could be, not a separate league, but there's got to be somewhere else. Maybe have
the UFL.
I was gonna say have a connection, like have a better pipeline to the UFL. Even though UFL,
the CFL,
yeah, they all go. The scouts are at the practices. Like, usually, if there's an NFL scout somewhere, there's for sure XFL, CFL, UFL coaches. So, I mean, you got to go that route. But as far as the money is concerned, I mean, like, it's a real thing. And what really does suck about it is a lot of these kids don't know until they hit the portal. So it's like sometimes you have to hit the portal to even find out what your value is, because, you know, the whole bidding war has to start. So, you know, you're really just sticking it out is not always an option. And I guess you can always go back to your school if you hit the portal, but.
Well, my thing is not necessarily even about the transfer portal and this, like, getting on the same page for these athletes. Like, if you want this system to run, it definitely has to have more of a pro style model. Like, and yeah, athletes
like having their own
collective bargaining, right? Is understanding, like, there's tiers to this. Do you want to sign 1-year contracts? Do you want to, like, have 2-year deals with schools? Like, things along those lines that have to help streamline this process, clean it up some. So not everybody is just suing all the time so they can play 7-8 years in college athletics. That everybody is playing with different models. I get it. You have more money in the SEC, Big Ten, etc. But still, when you have the revenue sharing plus NIL, that's what these coaches are talking about. They're like, all it's done is flooded the market with more money, and it hasn't cleaned things up, hasn't slowed things down. There's always going to be tampering. People are always going to be sliding into your DMs constantly, and you're getting paid. Like, the money's not going anywhere for these student athletes.
Yeah.
But I also ask them, like, what do you want? Is this the life you just want to live? Like,
and
4
that's why I was
places in
about
4
to-
years? Like,
yeah,
okay.
And that's what I was going to say. I was like, I think it's almost like, I don't want to say it's a character thing, but I'm thinking of myself. Even if there was money, so maybe maybe my last year, just because of the amount of injuries, like so my age was high, but if you look at, like, time on the field, I probably, just because of injury, played as much as maybe somebody who's played 1 year of college football. So for me, that was what was slightly tempting. And some of these guys, they've been playing, like, they've been actually on the field getting reps. And it's like, at some point, if you know you're not going to be, or if you feel you won't end up in the NFL, you've got to figure something else out at some point anyways. You know, if you've been playing sports, one of the things that football should have taught you is that, you know, you got to be resilient. So you don't want to just hang on to football as if football is all you've got. It's not a healthy mindset anyways. You should have other things you're looking forward to doing. And you've had that time because you've been in college for a long time. So you got all those years in college. You should have a master's or something by now. You got to have something you can lean on. If you don't have anything to lean on in the second half, and you're 25, 26, 27 in college, and that means you've got deeper issues. And that one extra year of NIL money is not going to help you.
Well, speaking of issues, there's something that is so good that it works. And you understand you always want a little bit more. It's just like you were saying, that allure of, is there a few more dollars here? There is a meeting this week that could decide the fate of one of the best and the biggest sporting events in the United States of America. And what will that mean? We'll hit that next. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
Brought to you by Fifth Element Medical Practice.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit hanswhitlerauto.com. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network. Every moment from every game from every sport, including all NMAA state championship games. Get your monthly pass now. Just go to ProViewNetworks.com, click on the NFHS logo, and sign up today. Watch New Mexico's best.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
Got shots? Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Boswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a...
Then there was a time back in 2010, people were floating a 96 team NCAA tournament. Slight expansion. No, it's expanded over the years. But 68, it's nice, and Jeff talks about this all the time. It fits so neatly on a piece of paper. You print it out, you have your bracket, you fill it out. Man, when you start adding extra layers to it, could we see a few more playing games for a couple more double-digit seats? That's possible. But if it's going to change, it's going to be an impactful change. And we're talking into the 70s, like 76 or more. But is it really going to add that much more revenue to the TV deal? Yeah, it's more content for TV. But will it have the same... When you get to a certain point in the tournament, yeah, it always catches on. You throw the weekend, of course, you get a Sweet 16, you start buzzing. But there is something so good about March Madness. Where could the changes come from? Because with anything in college athletics, the realization is it's not about, does this make sense? It's about, how much money is this going to make? Because to me, if you're looking at a shot of energy across college basketball, and people have said over the last few years they feel that college football, with the expanded college football playoff, like the regular season has lost its luster. It used to mean so much to go undefeated. Oh, you lose the game, your season's done for. I don't want to see that extreme, but should we, if you're looking at an area of change in college basketball, it's conference tournaments. Do you need conference tournaments in college basketball? Sure, it's fun. It's an extra trip to Las Vegas for Mountain West basketball fans. But if you're looking at spicing things up or emphasizing college basketball, your regular season champ should get the automatic bid. If you're playing upwards of 20 conference games, well, that's where your automatic bid should come from. Not 3 days in Vegas or 3 days in whatever city. But that's a separate conversation from what the committee is looking to do. And there's a lot of smoke around expanding the NCAA tournament. I'm not on board with it. And all it does is add more Big Ten and SEC teams to the NCAA tournament. They're not expanding, so the Mountain West can get 5 or 6 teams in. They're not expanding, So a team that wins a regular season title in a one bid league gets into the NCAA tournament. They're expanding. So every Big East school, every Big Ten school, every SEC school gets in. And they'll say, well, look at the metrics. Look at how strong the conference is. Look at the net rankings.
Also, remember how exciting it was when UNM got into it last year? I feel like that excitement's dimmed down a little bit if it feels like everybody just gets in.
Yeah.
Or it's like, okay, getting to the tournament, it's almost like it's not so much as you got so much to gain, but it's like you got a lot to lose. It's like, don't not get into the tournament.
I'm with you. This is one like this makes sense. And this isn't one where I look directly and say, well, X amount of teams in football get to a bowl game. So given the fact that, Division I basketball, we're talking about 360 teams, like that number needs to be the same.
Yeah.
To me, it doesn't. This is something that works. If you want to talk about maybe a couple extra play-in games for bubble teams where, you're playing those, 9 seed, 10, 11, 12 seeds are playing their way in potentially.
What was that separate little competition the schools had after? I think Boise State was in it.
The
after
Crown. Yeah, so that was.
What's up with maybe that for all conferences or something? Because I think just they did it, right?
Well, the Crown was put on. So the two big basketball tournaments. So it's the NCAA tournament, and then you'd have the NIT. And they kind of readjusted the NIT over the last few years to try to focus more on resume and merit-based stuff. But the Crown was one of those, hey, come play this tournament for prize money.
Okay.
Deals. And so teams were very interested in that. So teams
Yeah.
that didn't make the NCAA tournament chose that path because it's money for their players. So, yeah, that model outside of the NCAA tournament is something we'll see. We're seeing that with the in-season Players Era Festival that going into their second year, which they're going to have that. That's a non-conference tournament in Las Vegas at the end of November with a bunch of teams that all get $1 million for playing, and then the winner of the tournament gets an extra $1 million.
Yeah,
So those things are out there outside of the NCAA tournament.
And that Crown thing, you also want to make sure it's not like the prize isn't so big that schools just don't care about losing in the tournament. Like, oh well, we got the Crown. Like, all right, we got a second. Basically, we got a second.
Well, you
chance.
didn't go to the NCAA tournament and then the Crown.
Yeah, you go. Oh, so if you get in the tournament, you just didn't get to go.
Yeah, you went to the NCAA
okay,
tournament.
Okay.
You went to play. You didn't get to go to the NCAA tournament, win 2 games, and go to the Crown.
Okay, gotcha.
Because you get your tournament. You get money for going to the NCAA tournament. It goes to your conference and your school from playing in the NCAA tournament.
But then still, what if a school just doesn't make the tournament? Like, oh well, we got Crown. I feel
Yeah.
like you still want schools trying their hardest to get to that tournament.
Yes, like that's still that should be the pinnacle. Like playing in the NCAA tournament, playing in March Madness. But to your point, if the Crown's going to come along and offer money to players and revenue sharing is now, and you just want to find every possible way to survive. Yeah, that's something the NCAA tournament might have to think about. I know in football, the bowl games are thinking about that. Do they have to start adding more incentives as opposed to, just the gift suites that they had and things like that? Well, oh, you want to play in a bowl game? Well, here's NIL money. That's real.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, too, yeah, you want to be compensated for your ability. I'm not anti athletes getting paid. But you're talking about it, man. You're saying, would I rather play in this Crown tournament on Fox Sports 1 than play in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I say treat it like might as well mix it up. Treat it like the play-in. What's that tournament for the NBA has at the beginning? I forgot the name of it already because no one cares about it.
Like the in-season tournament?
Yeah, there is no name for it. Yeah, a little in-season tournament. Treat the Crown like that. Why not? Have a little thing at the beginning of the year when college basketball first starts, kick off the season.
I could see that happening a lot more. But, again, like opportunities to make money, etc., and they're looking at the NCAA tournament expansion and just thinking, oh, you expand the tournament, then that's going to lead to a bigger television deal. I'm not so sure. Because I think what you're talking about, too, is the interest in it going to be the same. If you already have teams that can be under 500 in conference, make it, which I don't think is the worst thing because it's the overall record. But you're looking at teams that might just be 2 games above 500, but they play in a power conference, they get in the NCAA tournament. Is that the product we want in March? And my answer is no. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline. And the text line, we're starting to get that grooving back up and going as well. So you can hit us up there. Of course, follow the show on ProView Network. JJ Bucks, A. Johnson. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by...
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
I'm David C. Chavez, personal injury attorney. For over 4 decades, our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no fault of their own. I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans. I received my bachelor's degree at NMSU and earned my law degree at UNM. I can proudly say I'm both an Aggie and a Lobo. Call now and I will meet with you. 40 years strong, and we're still as local as red and green.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number 1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All In Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sports shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView.
And this one caught us both by surprise. OKC, we knew that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the reigning MVP, got his deal. Well, they are going all in with Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren gets a fully guaranteed 5-year maximum rookie contract extension. Could be worth up to $250 million. So they believe in Chet. I don't think a lot of people are sold on Holmgren as being the legit number 2, because the question was, all right, you have your max dude in SGA. Who's going to be your second max player? Because can you max SGA, Chet Holmgren, and Jalen Williams and be able to find some consistency as a franchise? It's not what we're seeing now in the NBA. But OKC believes in and is buying into Chet Holmgren. So the reigning champs locking in Chet on a rookie maximum contract extension. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the sports animal. And we were bouncing this around yesterday when we were going through how some of these teams are going to compete or stay consistent. And both of us, Zay, I think we're saying, all right, if we're going to pay someone, it'd be Jalen Williams.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are with Chet locked in.
That's crazy. $50 million a year.
And, like, to me, like...
That's risky.
The injury history.
Yeah.
To start his career. He missed games last year with the hip. He was not the second best player on that team in the playoffs. It was Jalen Williams.
So what do you do with Williams now? You can't have 3 maxes on the same team, can you?
You can, but then all of a sudden what everyone is praising OKC for was the depth. Are you able to do that? Because then you're going to be banking on younger guys that much more, as opposed to being able to have an Alex Caruso or an Isaiah Hartenstein. Right? It's going to you're going to have to hit on your late first round picks. You're going to have your second round picks contribute. You're going to have to be able to find guys, undrafted free agents. That's a big part of the league because it's only 2-round draft.
Okay, but if you do put it this way, though, no disrespect to Jalen Williams, I don't think he's Jaylen Brown. Shai might be a little bit better than Tatum. You just saw Tatum and Jaylen Brown as a backcourt get knocked out of the playoffs. If you're the Thunder, maybe you feel more comfortable having your big man, so to speak, locked in with Shai, because now you've got a big guy and you've got your guard locked in. Whereas now when you build around the team, you don't have to be in the situation that the Lakers, so to speak, were just in, when you're having to try your hardest and go find some type of big man or some type of stretch big. So I guess team structure-wise, it makes more sense moving forward to lock in Chet and Shai over Shai and Jalen, but I think Jalen's a better player.
I'm right there with you. I think that's the way Sam Presti and the Thunder could be looking at it, of going, hey, let's have the front court, back court duo locked in, because I think Jalen Williams is on par or on pace to be the Jaylen Brown type of player.
Yeah.
Like, just bucket getter, guard multiple positions, big dude, strong dude. Like, I do think Jalen Williams is that mold, and the only way to read this, I think, is the way that you read it. And they're just looking at, all right, we would rather have the point guard and someone that they played at the 5 a ton in the NBA Finals locked in, as opposed to 2 wing players, even in the NBA that we've seen everything go to the perimeter. I was just shocked that it happened this fast.
Yeah, literally the next day.
Because you look at, it's just about finding consistency. Because we know the NBA with 7 different champs over the last 7 seasons. Not necessarily new champions, but the Celtics won a title, Lakers won a title, the Warriors won a title. But getting back, multiple championship appearances, it is really tough to do. And it's why you have to really focus on who your max guys are going to be and have that duo to lead. And they're investing in Chet Holmgren. They're telling the world that they believe that he can be a consistent, illegitimate number 2 option in Oklahoma City for a franchise that feels like they should still be there for a few years. And you look at the Western Conference now, and the depth is real. Now, the question is, all right, how many legitimate championship contenders are there? Because there's a lot of teams that you look and you really like. You figure, all right, the Spurs, right? That's going to start clicking, and they're going to move forward. The Nuggets added depth to their bench. The Lakers, we'll get into that. DeAndre Ayton saying it feels like he's playing a video game when he steps on the floor with Luka Doncic and LeBron James. The OKC, the defending champs, lock in Chet Holmgren, really showing that their duo is going to be SGA and Chet. And how's the rest of the Western Conference going to respond? 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline, and the text line buzzing once again this morning. Zay Johnson, Shade Your Buck. It's the OD right here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks. Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep. All your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network. Every moment from every game from every sport, including all NMAA state championship games. Get your monthly pass now. Just go to ProViewNetworks.com, click on the NFHS logo, and sign up today. Watch New Mexico's best.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
Conference, and what does the future hold in the Western Conference? Well, yeah, you got Denver Nuggets that are there that have retooled around Nikola Jokic. You look at the teams that you expect to take a step forward, and we're looking at you, San Antonio Spurs, with Victor Wembanyama, De'Aaron Fox, full off season. You know, the Warriors, Jimmy Butler, it's Steph Curry. They're going to find their way in there. The Clippers, some moves around the edges, trading Norman Powell. Maybe they open up as a spot for Bradley Beal if he's bought out of his contract with the Phoenix Suns. Of course, the biggest news outside of the contract extension for Chet Holmgren, the Kevin Durant trade. And going to the Houston Rockets, they were able to keep their core of meaningful players in that deal, and the Rockets had the second best record in the regular season in the Western Conference. And then a team with Luka Doncic and LeBron James is absolutely going to be competitive. Now, DeAndre Ayton, just trying to find some consistency, just trying to fill a void inside, hit some mid-range shots. grab some rebounds, just be a presence that the Lakers were lacking. He was introduced yesterday, and he said, quote, "This feels like a video game, like somebody set it up." And he gets to play with Luka Doncic and LeBron James. And Ayton added, quote, "They both average about 9 assists over their career. They turn their teammates into superstars. They make them bigger than their roles. They make them very important on the floor." And this for DeAndre Ayton, who's played on winning teams. The Phoenix Suns went to the NBA Finals. Now they lost to Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks, but Ayton has been a part of winning. Now he hasn't necessarily been the number 1 overall pick. And look at that draft, right? DeAndre Ayton goes number 1 overall. 2 spots after him, it was Luka Doncic. So they reunite on the Lakers, and this is a good role for Ayton. Ayton is athletic. He definitely flashes. But when you're playing with guys like that get you locked in, that already DeAndre Ayton knows that he's going to get more opportunities than he's had in a long time on the floor. That can lock you in. Because now, yeah, you're a number 1 pick, but no one's looking at DeAndre Ayton and saying you're the face of the franchise. They're looking at him and say, hey, fill this role. And listening to his comments yesterday, it feels like he's very excited to fill that role on the Lakers.
Mm-hmm. I'm very, very excited. And this is the thing. So remember, guys like Daniel Gafford, Luka got him paid. Luka loves big men, and I think for any center, this has to be Luka's, I think maybe ever since LeBron, the biggest superstar that loves to pass. I guess Jokic. But those two, they might as well be the same person, different size. I think that the Lakers, if you put DeAndre Ayton on this team last year, I think that Timberwolves series looks a lot different. I still think there's things they need to fix in order to be able to take out Minnesota because they did lose 4-1. But I just think this really helps them out. It gives them some defense. And also, Luka, we see it. We call him a cone on defense. We call him an Ole. If he does get blown by, now there's some sort of defense back there. And also for DeAndre Ayton, I mean, he said it himself. He feels like, I think when you go to the Lakers especially as a big man, you're in the spotlight. So you have to be able to handle the spotlight. And I think the way you handle pressure really matters in LA. I think that's why guys like Andrew Bynum didn't last very long, because I think he hated the pressure. I think when he was missing games, he didn't like the way people were starting to talk about him. He didn't like the expectation. They turned him off. He was out of there. I think with DeAndre Ayton, he also has not played a lot of games. He misses a lot, and I think that being on LeBron's team, being on Luka's team, I think that moving forward, we might see him actually try his best to see if he can hit that 71. I think the most games he's ever played in the season was 71, and that was some years ago. So we'll see. We can get him on the court for 60 to 70 games and healthy in the playoffs. I think the Lakers, dare I say, are going to be a sleeper.
Well, the Lakers are never going to be a sleeper.
Mm-hmm.
It's
this
the
is
Lakers,
true. Yeah, we'll know
LeBron
exactly
James,
what's going on with
Luka
them.
Doncic. They're not sleeping on a team that still won 50 games last year.
Yeah, people forget how good they were.
Third place in the Western Conference. And I think Ayton, this is the perfect role for him now. He is going to be magnified by dudes that space the floor, draw attention, get other players involved.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, when you're number 1 overall pick and Phoenix was still looking at Ayton going, all right, live up to this deal. Let's go. Be that number 2. Be that guy that makes the difference along with Devin Booker. Just never quite hit. And then you go to Portland in that deal. Of course, Trailblazers aren't a good basketball team, so you're just there as they're trying to rebuild and retool. And now you go into a place where you're essentially the 4th option in that starting lineup.
Yeah.
With Luka, LeBron, Reeves.
Yeah, and then now Ayton. But what's sweet about it though is also whether Luka's in the court or LeBron's on the court, both of those guys know how to get a big man involved. So I think that if you're him, you're expecting all his numbers to not maybe skyrocket, but they should all inflate. I remember Jackson Hayes. There was one game I remember Jackson Hayes was 8 for 9 in the first half.
Yeah, when you're rim running and running the pick and roll, you're going to have a lot of opportunities. And I think Ayton is a quality finisher around the rim, and he can pull up and hit some of that mid-range jump shot. So I don't have any question that he's going to be able to score, but that's not. They don't need that. Can he be a good enough defender?
Yeah.
Inside, he's not really known as that post defender,
Mm-hmm.
but just get
rebounds.
strong rebounder get in the way and be a presence that the Lakers did not have, and you hit it. And when they tried to run Minnesota off the floor by going small, and they're like, hey, try to get Rudy Gobert out of the game. And at the end of that series, Rudy Gobert had one of the best game of his postseason.
It was insane. I couldn't believe it. J.J. Redick, what it was you saw J.J. Redick put Jackson Hayes on the bench, and he kind of just sat there and let the team suffer. And he's like, no, I'm not taking him off. I'm not putting him in the game. And that was wild to see. But if you're the Lakers, are you interested in Bradley Beal? Because I've been here and they want him. I think
any team's interested because it feels like you're going to get Bradley Beal on a ridiculous discount, and Beal being floated to the Clippers, or the Lakers. Again, you're going in as third or fourth option there. Don't expect him to have to pay a big contract.
How much you think
with him getting bought out?
How much do you think you have to be signed for? 8, 9, probably more than that.
Probably some mid-level exception at that point in time, or what's left. And if you're looking at the Lakers, the thing for there is, can you make Dalton Connect a 10 to 15 minute player night?
Fuck, he should have been. That's another thing JJ dropped the ball on. I've been big on Dalton Connect since they got him. The reason why is because he's a senior coming out of college, so he's not one of
the SEC Player of the Year.
Yeah, and it's like he needs time to acclimate, but he doesn't need that much time.
That's a piece to the puzzle I'd be wanting to see over Bradley Beal.
And what's very, very, and I agree, but it's also very sweet about what the Lakers did is, so you look back to the Mark Williams trade that didn't go through. They were going to have to give up people. So now they get to keep everybody and just sign Ayton. Although we lost Dorian Finney-Smith. We lost one more guy. I can't remember. But you essentially keep the same team and you add Jake LaRavia. I don't know much about him. Did you know anything about him before he went to the Lakers?
He was with Memphis for a little bit, Sacramento. I'm a wing player.
Is he like a connect? It sounds like they're trying to compare him kind of to.
No, he's not Dalton Connect.
Okay, he's not better.
He can shoot a little bit.
Okay,
forward, but probably play more small ball 4.
So Connect's better.
Well, they're two different players.
Okay, gotcha. So different styles. So yeah, you got Jake LaRavia. We'll see. Bronny's looking good.
I don't expect Bronny to be an impactful member of the rotation. Like, Summer League is fun. He was watching a game last night. Baisley, a guy that maybe could be a bench player, but Summer League is one that you have to really take it with a grain of salt.
Ace Bailey's looking good.
Bailey showing off.
He's looking good.
Edgecombe, like him a lot, but we're talking about top 5 picks there.
Yeah.
As they said. What Baisley and Connect were able to do last night in Summer League for the Lakers. But, that's a player I'm looking at. Right? Some of those other roles would be. I think Dalton Connect can have a really good season.
Yeah, it wasn't very it wasn't very noticeable. But after that trade did not go through, right? And he came back, and JJ's like, yeah, I gave him a game off to get his mental together. A lot of Laker fans did not like that. Then there's videos, he's on the bench, he's not laughing, and everyone else is. But then something clicked, maybe like a week after that, where he got very aggressive. Anytime he had the chance to try and dunk it, he's putting his body on the line. He was taking shots when he had an opportunity. He's playing aggressive. I think that's going to trickle over. And I think because of the Luka trade and all this other stuff that went down, we forget that he got traded and then put back in Los Angeles. That doesn't happen too often. And he's got a chip on his shoulder, 100%. So he's going to come back way better than he was last year.
Yeah, I think that is someone that consistently, maybe 15 minutes per game, year 2. Because I understand it's hard to insert a rookie into that team, even last year, with kind of the expectations. And I just said, the big trade, bringing in over Luka Doncic. I think Dalton Connect can find a really solid role. And, dude, your head coach is J.J. Redick. What was his role his entire career? By the J.J. Redick had a good NBA career. But he was that guy, right? It was just wing shooter, finding ways to stay on the floor. That's Dalton Connect. So I think J.J. Redick can find a good role for Dalton Connect on this Lakers.
Oh, yeah. JJ handpicked him, basically. And then Dalton also said that him and his coach in college, when they would watch film and, try to draw up plays, they would watch JJ Redick. They'd watch a lot of Redick getting open just to figure out different ways to connect the ball. So full circle moment.
505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline and text line for you. this morning. Western Conference buzz. Chet Holmgren gets a contract extension with the reigning champs, the Oklahoma City Thunder, are now all in with SGA and Chet Holmgren. We'll see what happens with Jalen Williams moving forward. Is he in the play for OKC? Can you have three guys on max deals and still find that consistency to be not just a championship contender, but be a team that gets to the conference finals? You got to get to the conference finals, get to the title game, because we've looked at the last few years without the Nuggets, with Jokic, were primed to get there. And what's happened? They've lost in the second round the last 2 years. Boston Celtics, they're going to run it back. Well, it's tough. And then you have a major injury in Jason Tatum. They don't get there. Now OKC trying to figure it out. Where can that consistency come from? Sean Ryder, Albuquerque Journal beat writer for Lobo Football, is going to join us at 9 o'clock. We're going to dive in to the Mountain West Conference, what the offseason has been like so far for UNM with new head coach Jason Eck. Mountain West Media Day next week. The buzz surrounding the conference, the frustration from teams leaving, the mediation, how much money, etc. But it is almost time. Next month, they'll be kicking off playing college football. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Got shots? Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gala Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sport shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit HansWhitlerAuto.com.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Going to play with LeBron James and Luka Doncic. How's Dak Prescott feeling? New wide receiver, too. Going into next year, a lot of questions in terms of offenses being able to take a step forward. Got some of the young quarterbacks. People loving Drake May and his future. Michael Penix just played 3 games at the end. And now you got Kirk Cousins coming out saying he was misled. Is that still one situation to watch? You know, Captain Kirk had the opportunity. He was given the football, a ton of guaranteed money last year, even with Michael Penix being selected in the top 10. Didn't quite get the job done. And so you have teams looking to bounce back and take a step forward. The offseason moves in the NFL, sometimes it's just about getting healthy. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Buck, Zay Johnson with you. The Cowboys, you know, the offense has been the thing that really got them going the last few years. And they led the league in scoring 2 of the last 3 years. Of course, last year, fall the 21st, the injuries to Dak Prescott. Turnover, new coaching staff, focus on different things. However, even with the run game being that major focus, Dak is excited as hell to be throwing to George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. And I can understand that one, but Dak Prescott spoke yesterday and said, quote, just go turn on the guy's tape. Speaking of George Pickens, he's getting separation. He's got separation even when he's not getting the ball at times. And when he doesn't have separation, he's still making those catches. So he's super excited. I know so much of the talk, and we've gone over it, Zay, and looking at the Cowboys and these teams taking steps forward, and especially the teams with the coaching turnover, has been, well, they need to get back to the run game. And they need to take some of that pressure off Dak Prescott. But the biggest move they made offensively was wide receiver 2, George Pickens.
Mm-hmm. So the method behind the madness is, number one, I do believe that they may have wanted like a CJ Henderson or somebody to fall to them in the draft, but I guess he just really wasn't that high up on the draft board. But with Dallas, they did address the running game by getting a lineman. It was one of those things where, you know, you make a Christmas list and you put the new video games and stuff on there. Then your parents get you clothes because of when it's winter and you don't have a coat. You know, it's something like that where it's like you got what you needed, not what you wanted. I wanted Matthew Golden. We got Tyler Booker out of Alabama. I believe he was the highest rated guard. He's been great his whole career, all the way back from high school, played at one of those private schools, got recruited there, then went to Alabama, dominated Alabama, and I expect him to dominate in the NFL. They got Jaden Blue, the running back. I think he could be a home run hitter. I don't think he's a 3-down back, but you've got Miles Sanders. I don't know what he's going to look like. I heard he looks good. Javonte Williams, all the Broncos fans, I think you're a Broncos fan as well, have been saying that if he can get back to where he was, he should be the starter.
Well, I think Javonte Williams can handle first, second down. Jadon Blue works his way into potentially being that third down back. I think they can have a solid running game. And we went back and forth because I know you were Team Ashton Genty. He was never getting to that point, right? We understood that. But adding to the offensive line, as you just stated, was the right move to then make the run game more impactful. Yeah.
I get it. I get it. It's just sometimes you see the shiny objects and you want them. But as far as a receiver, you know, looking at the Cowboys' needs going into this draft, there is a strong argument that they needed wide receiver more than a running back because CeeDee Lamb, I think his gap between first and second for like the most catches, like the catches on his team compared to the other receivers, it was like the load was like in the 20s or 30% of the team's catches, and it was absurd.
Dak Prescott is excited. Kirk Cousins is frustrated, but you know, when you look at Kirk Cousins coming off the Achilles injury last year, he might have been blindsided, but they guaranteed that man a ton of money. They gave him the opportunity. They got a little buyer's remorse after the fact. So Kirk Cousins said, quote, "I wasn't expecting us to take a quarterback," end quote. When it comes to Michael Penix, where he went. The Falcons, yeah, they got a little bit of buyer remorse, but they picked Penix. But then they watched Cousins throw 18 touchdowns, 16 interceptions, go 7-7. And it's that first year. Always going to be a little bit of a struggle coming back from that Achilles injury. But when you look at these guys coming back, you know, Dak Prescott trying to be fully healthy. Michael Penix trying to hold off Kirk Cousins. Yes, Penix was a top 10 pick. He's the future in Atlanta. But it was only a 3-game sample size for Penix. So that one, I think, is really interesting to watch among the teams that have the young quarterbacks versus the veteran quarterbacks that are hoping to ascend back to the level that we expect. 505-246-0610. That's the Sports Animal hotline and text line for you this morning. Take your calls to the text line when we come back on the other side. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This message brought to you by Sandy.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
Rudy's is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
For your surprisingly great rates, contact your local State Farm agent today.
If you want the real deal, call State Farm agent Marty Size in Albuquerque today.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed gloves. I grew up here. New Mexico is in my blood. I'm a New Mexican fighting for other New Mexicans. I'm Adam Oki. I'll be your champion in the courtroom.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit hanswhitlerauto.com. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your
Yeah, it's a challenge. And people are frustrated, but mainly just the Pac State schools that are on their way out. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. JJ Bucks A. Johnson with you this morning. Symbieta, Big 12 Media Day, so he's back tomorrow. Excited to hear what he heard from all the Big 12 coaches, the buzz around that conference. Of course, TCU played in the Isleta, New Mexico last year, and with the regionality of the Big 12 and their footprint, having that relationship with the Isleta, New Mexico Bowl is definitely a positive one. See maybe more Big 12 teams in Albuquerque for postseason football. 505-246-0610. Hotline, the text line is buzzing again for us here on the Sports Animal. Rudy, you're on the opening drive. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, just wanted to have a couple of reactions. You know, I find it really amusing that San Diego State and Boise State are upset. They're the ones that spied on their fellow conference members, went and ratted them out to the Pac-2, did everything they could to break up the Mountain West so that they wouldn't have to pay exit fees and poaching fees. So they're going to get what they deserve. And as far as mediation is concerned, that mediation boat sailed a long time ago. They're not going to mediate. They're going to litigate because they are so full of themselves. I've never seen two schools that are more full of themselves than Boise State and San Diego State. They just think that they're just the best and that everybody else is inferior. And they're going to get what they deserve. Meanwhile, Grand Canyon is a great addition, and they don't have to wait. And I don't know what Boise State and San Diego State are barking about. They're the ones that sent the letter, didn't they, JJ, and say we quit?
That is correct.
Well, then you don't have any voting rights. The Mountain West is proceeding on like you're not a member of the conference because you're not a member of the conference. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But that's a little, you know, I was married to a Gloria, and that name, you better watch out for Glorias. Those people are very powerful people with that name. My other reaction is it's so lazy to just say New Mexico's 48th in everything. And I don't think we're 48th by any stretch in sports. I just think it's when you have a list and you have a poll and you've never been to New Mexico, you've never been to the pit, you know, you've never been to a New Mexico Bowl, you go, oh, they don't have any sports. They don't have any sports worth a darn. And I really think this stadium, now that the way's been cleared for the United, that's going to really help sports and just the overall look. And then if they can ever get it together, JJ and Zay, and turn that Tingley Coliseum into a $500 million sports venue because it's in a perfect location, you could have WNBA maybe. You know, you could have a pro sports. Everybody wants the top of the line. There's your opportunity.
I really appreciate the phone call. He got in 505-246-0610 joining us on the opening drive this morning. Now, all right. A lot in that call for me. We've discussed in the Mountain West Conference yesterday. We were looking at the future of sports in New Mexico with the stadium. I do think the future is bright, and there's good opportunities down the road. You know, college athletics is always going to have its revenue-generating challenges, but with what we have at the D1 level, it's good. Support is there. Expectations for basketball. Can you filter that over and get some success on the football field? That's a giant question mark. That's the next step for the Lobos. But the investment in that area, you know, the shops and the restaurants that are be coming in that are slated to take up some of that land around the pit in that area, that's a good step forward. United getting their stadium at Balloon Fiesta Park. I like the location, the layout. Yeah, there's always going to be challenges in and out in certain areas. When you have big-time events, there's going to be some traffic. There's going to be some noise. But to the detriment of the surrounding neighborhoods, I don't think so. Now you look at that area and kind of the fallout doesn't necessarily have the same, oh, what is there to do? Well, I think there's the city itself working on the infrastructure and bettering that for Balloon Fiesta Park is huge because, well, it has one of the biggest events in the state yearly in the Balloon Fiesta. They're hosting more concerts out there. And so just to build up that area, then add the stadium, that's a step forward. And that was the right place. United that's their investment in that stadium, now the city is investing in some of the infrastructure around it. Of course, the lease deal to give United the land, but that's being funded by United, and that's what people wanted to see. The downtown project, that wasn't great. It was just forced in there. Really felt like it was something that the mayor was like, "Hey, we'll add this in late. No one's going to look, and it's just going to get passed." No, that's not what the city wanted at the time. But looking forward, there's, I think, a light at the end of the tunnel for positivity. And we're talking what he was referencing yesterday. We talked about this survey that Symbi had actually sent along. It was a Smile Hub survey about the best states to be a sports lover in. New Mexico is number 48. I was looking at things like sports success, sports success, jobs in sport, recreational activities, things like that. And I'm like, well, recreational activities, check the box. Outdoor all summer long in New Mexico, but it's those steps forward. Now, when it comes to professional sports, that ship has sailed. I do not see any way that Albuquerque ever gets into the pro sports game. Everyone assumed it was just going to be Major League Soccer with just the early success of United. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Look at that. United's good. They have a solid early fan base. That's going to be the next step. No, the entry fees to Major League Soccer, gigantic. The entry fees into the WNBA now, gigantic. And look at the markets they're going to. Portland, Detroit, Cleveland, Philadelphia. That have that established pro sports market, that have that established brand across the board. Now, could a downtown arena just help continue vitalizing things in terms of entertainment and other sporting event opportunities? Yes, absolutely. But I don't think a pro sports team is ever going to be an anchor. I'm talking WNBA, MLS, something like along those lines. Now, could you have, like we see at Rio Rancho, right? AA hockey teams coming in. Could the G League be something that could be on board if we see potentially the NBA go more to that 1-and-1 model of having affiliates for every team? Yeah, those could be on the board. But I think the pro ship has sailed unless you can get Amazon to essentially just buy the city. And it could be Amazon Albuquerque of New Mexico.
I feel like there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it being Albuquerque, New Mexico.
No. But, yeah, I am optimistic as a sports fan in New Mexico about the new stadium. But a AA hockey team coming to Rio Rancho. Having that NHL affiliation, I think, is going to be really big for that team. To give them some time to build and move forward and try to ignite Rio Rancho as that fan base. And then with college athletics, that's still at the forefront. That's still what gets the people going. That's what you can directly interact with in this town. Is Lobo Athletics or Aggie Athletics in Las Cruces. So how are you feeling about the future of sport in New Mexico? Sean Ryder, Albuquerque Journal, set to join us. Top of the hour, we'll get into all that. The future of Lobo football, the Mountain West Conference, media days upon us. What are they saying in the Big 12? Big 12 football going to have some Lobo flavor, just like basketball has had last year, with a big-time transfer for UNM, making what I think is going to be a big-time difference on the football field in the Big 12. It's the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
This report is sponsored by
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep. All your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
Got shots? Got shots? Got shots?
During Got Shots, participating providers open their doors for any child who presents for immunizations, regardless of whether they are a patient or whether they have insurance.
TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sport shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network. Every moment from every game from every sport, including all NMAA state championship games. Get your monthly pass now. Just go to ProViewNetworks.com, click on the NFHS logo, and sign up today. Watch New Mexico's best.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth that's real tough, backed by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot. It's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Blue Bell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
We've been trained, conditioned, and rewarded for doing more. But people weren't designed for all that doing. Our bodies need to settle into nothing from time to time. Into nothing at all. In a world obsessed with doing more, we invite you to undo.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
I might not be in the cage as much anymore. Just like riding a bicycle, I can pick up the fight from where I left off. I'm not some slick-haired outsider posing with borrowed...
85.9 FM and AM 610, the sports animal.
At least they don't have to take off their shoes when they go through TSA on the way out. Pack State schools upset. Grand Canyon coming in. They're like, how can you do this? Is it perfect? Nope. Mountain West throwing Grand Canyon a lifeline. Even with football media days next week, it's going to be buzzing. There's going to be back and forth. You know, Boise State always has a big contingency. They do a great job with their coverage. BJ Rains, etc. They built a ton of great coverage up there. However, it's going to get loud. It's going to get noisy back and forth. Because the exit fees, they're not going to be able to negotiate their way out of all these exit fees. Every Utah State, San Diego State fan, Boise State fan that is online is saying, see, this was an awful move. This is going to hurt the Mountain West. These teams are not going to have to pay any money to leave. Not the case. But it's going to be interesting just seeing the interactions. Now, the football coaches, the players, yeah, they're going to go there, do their interviews, do all their Mountain West media stuff, and move on. But Gloria Nevada is the Mountain West commissioner when she speaks, how she handles the questions from those markets is going to be fascinating. What her message is, because this is football media days, but it's going to be about Grand Canyon too. Well, why would you do this to the conference? Why would you throw that curveball in there? Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, but you want to throw a lifeline to a team that is going to be in the Mountain West Conference and they had nowhere to go this season. And what are we about? We're about stories, we're about entertainment, and a little bit of drama. And that's what we're going to get in the Mountain West Conference this season in the final hoorah of what this conference has been for 25 years. JJ Bucks, A. Johnson with you. Opening drive here on The Sports Animal. Sean Ryder, Albuquerque Journal, going to drop in. We'll talk a ton of stuff. Football across the board. Getting ready for those Mountain West Media Days next week. Symbieta in Frisco, Texas for one more day. Big 12 Media Days. So excited to hear his thoughts from that conference. He has a lot of frustrated coaches saying nothing has changed with the House settlement and revenue sharing. Well, it's still so new. There's still so many things to iron out. But it's one in college athletics that I cannot wait for the games to get here. It's felt like this offseason, there's just been so much where just like, goodness, can we get some games? And now this week, too, our eyes are on Savannah, Georgia. You're like, what? Why are our eyes there? Well, that's where the Division I Men's Basketball Committee is convening and discussing expansion. Another postseason so college football, I was okay with the expansion. If it is the 5+11 model, which some conferences like, some conferences don't like a 16-team college football playoff, like I'm good with that.
Yeah,
I can get on board with that. Solid. Let's go. When it comes to the NCAA tournament, and they're talking, 76 into the 80s, which have 90-plus teams in it, and someone once said, don't mess with half. The March Madness is half.
Don't mess with happy. I like that. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Leave it alone. I mean, 16 in college football, that's cool. Hopefully, the bracket, I mean, I guess they did already kind of make some adjustments to that one, huh? Technically. Because of the way, I forgot exactly what it was with like the conferences, and there's only so many teams from a conference can get in or something like that. I get some school was not happy with schools like Boise State being in that tournament last year.
Yeah, and now here's the thing: if you go the 5+11 model, and the at-large, and that's what like the Big Ten and SEC are saying, is there should not be a cap on it. You get your 5 highest-rated conference champs in, and then 11 at-large, just whoever they may be.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I'd be fine with that.
And then you go to college basketball, like I was saying earlier. I think you expand it, teams. It feels less of an award to get into the tournament. That's kind of like the main thing that people push for, before the season. That's what your goal is. Imagine the NFL if you expanded the amount of playoff teams. Making the playoffs wouldn't be, this quarterback, did he make the playoffs or he missed the playoffs? So if everyone makes the playoffs, it's no longer like an impressive
Well, the NBA
feat.
is dealing with it, right?
Mm-hmm. 10
teams.
Exactly.
But you have the play-in model, which I'm fine with. So it's not like it's just 10 and you're in. But there's certain things you understand. It's always going to be about revenue generation. It's going to be about expansion. But this works. So we'll keep our eye on it. Of all the news that's going on in college athletics, that is one that could be a big-time breaking news story later this week if they decide to expand the NCAA basketball tournament. Sean Ryder, Albuquerque Journal. Expecting him to drop in studio and hang out with us for the final hour, talking a ton of football overall. Of course, global football, Mountain West Conference, college football playoff expansion. You name it, we'll hit it. Adrian Holmley down on ProView Network. Zay behind the glass. JJ right here. And it is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready!
My coach. My teacher. My older sisters. My grandma. My brother. My tutor. My dad and my mom.
As New Mexicans, it's up to all of us to do our part.
So that no child goes without love.
And no family has to do it all on their own.
They're all our children. Every single person is called to make a difference in the life of a child.
It's up to all of us to do our part.
To pull together.
Pull together.
Pull together.
To make New Mexico the best place to be a kid.
I'm David C. Chavez, personal injury attorney. For over 4 decades, our law firm has remained steadfast in our commitment to serving the remarkable people of New Mexico that have been injured through no fault of their own. I'm a New Mexican fighting for New Mexicans. I received my bachelor's degree at NMSU and earned my law degree at UNM. I can proudly say I'm both an Aggie and a Lobo. Call now and I will meet with you. 40 years strong, and we're still as local as red and green.
ProView Networks would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. Hans Whitler Automotive, German car maintenance and repair in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Call 505-294-7684 or visit HansWhitlerAuto.com.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sports shirts, even jackets and hats.
FM and AM 610, the sports animal. Here's Jeff Symbieta and JJ Buck.
A month away from playing college football. Tomorrow, though, is when everyone's going to find out just how good these teams really are. I know there's some early access things coming out, but when we play EA Sports College Football, that's going to tell us who the good teams are, right? That's going to give us the answer of if these preseason polls are going to be right or wrong. Can't wait. I know Zay's just been barely making it in the mornings playing college football already early.
I was more disciplined yesterday.
Turned off a little bit earlier.
Yeah, like 12.
Yeah, that's not too bad. But it's that time. College football is right around the corner. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the sports animal. JJ Buck, Zay Johnson, joined by Sean Ryder, Albuquerque Journal. What's up, man?
Not much, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. How's the summer?
It's been pretty good. Can't complain. Went back home last week, so that was nice.
Nice. Get back home a little bit, recharge. And I want to get your thoughts, though. Mountain West Media Day, it was going to be interesting just because it's the last one of this era of Mountain West athletics. And they've done a lot of good things in the Mountain West. When you look at, despite the way Boise State feels about the Mountain West Conference, they were in the college football playoff. Like, they've played at the highest level. But now you have the Grand Canyon mix thrown in there, which has nothing to do with football, but yet the teams on the way out super upset. You saw the statements, by Boise State and San Diego State yesterday. That the mediation that's still ongoing. Who knows where that's going to go? That I'm sure the Mountain West has said, we're not dropping below this number, and those schools are just trying to make it as minimal as possible. The coaches, the players, they're going to come in and do their thing and move on next week. What do you think just the vibe is going to be like with Gloria, the ADs, and just some of the behind the scenes stuff?
Yeah, I'm absolutely fascinated to see it, and we've seen this before, right? I remember reading about Big 12 media days with Texas and Oklahoma out the door, and then the final Pac-12 media days and all that as well. If USC and UCLA heading out too, but I'm really curious to see it because there's been some awkwardness over the last couple of years. In 2023 there was that kind of San Diego State was clearly very interested in maybe getting out the door and all that too. Boise State was kind of interested too. It's happened, but now it's final. I have to imagine a lot of the coaches will kind of have to just stand up and say, it's that decision's out of our hands. They love to say that, and they probably should say that, frankly. But there's a couple guys in the mix. Jay Norvell is the guy I have in mind who would probably be a little more candid about it, and they might be a little more candid there. So we'll see. And then, I will say I've been a little disheartened. Sometimes I'll talk to players, and I'm like, do you follow this at all? Do you care? And they're like, I don't really care. So, I don't think you're going to get much there. But certainly Gloria Navarro is going to command a lot of attention during media days, just in terms of what she says. I think, her opening address will definitely be the most interesting opening address I've seen in my time here.
Yeah, and, this move, I understand when you look at basketball, the Olympic sports, that's what it has the impact. Grand Canyon doesn't play football, so there's some challenges when it comes to scheduling. But the Mountain West is throwing a team a lifeline that is joining your conference. And I understand why they might not have leaned on Boise State or San Diego State or Utah State, any of those departing teams, for this. But I look at it too and go, all the challenges in college athletics. Is adding Grand Canyon really that detrimental to this year? Is it to the point where you need to be that frustrated? It feels like more they're trying to use this as, see, this is why you shouldn't trust the Mountain West Conference. This is why we shouldn't have to abide to the contracts that we signed because look how they treat us.
Yeah, and I want to be clear. I'm not trying to tote the conference line or anything like that. But in what world was I understand why Boise, San Diego State, Utah State, whatever, might be frustrated with this. I do understand that from a pure scheduling perspective and all that. But in what world was the Mountain West just going to let Grand Canyon kind of sift in the wind for a year without a conference and all that. That was never going to happen as future conference mates. And I think it's a good thing for the remaining conference members, the ones that are going to stay after this year. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with the litigation and the like.
Yeah, the amount of legalese we've had to learn over the last few years just covering college athletics. Yeah. It's been insane, just from conference realignment, of course, name, image, and likeness, and now to revenue sharing. But just taking a step back, I mean, you cover college athletics. Do you feel that, hey, this is a system that it'll work itself out, it will still be there? Or do you think there still is an uneasiness, maybe an uncertainty of what any of these models are going to look like?
Oh, definitely like a certain sense of unease. I think, I don't know who is looking at everything and saying, yeah, this is all going to work itself out. I think there are facets of the models, and like models plural, to a certain point, that will work themselves out. But yeah, I mean, you talk to, I think, anybody, in college administration, college athletics administration at this point, and it is just a complete headache, because they're the same way. They're learning all this stuff just like we are, and they're learning on the fly. And unlike us, I write articles and kind of sit back and say, well, that's kind of interesting. They have to make those decisions, getting thrown into the fire. So I do think there is some unease. I think there's a little more comfort with some people in particular. But, it is kind of the ultimate adapt or die at this point.
What do you think happens from this? One of the things I've looked at, and it's not going to be the perfect model as, say, like a player union, etc., but it feels like collective bargaining has to come to the table at some point in time. Like, you have to say, all right, this is our football model, this is our basketball model, this is our Olympic sports model. Because you can't just have factions of players, like, after every season just suing for more eligibility, or this wasn't fair 8 years ago. Like, at some point in time, it feels like they have to move on. But how do we get to that point?
Yeah, and I think it's going to depend on, like, who really wants collective bargaining at that point, right? Like, I mean, it makes a lot of sense in a lot of facets, but who really wants it? I mean, are players fully comfortable taking this step? Are schools fully comfortable taking this step? And they might not have a choice in the end, but yeah. And want to be clear, not a collective bargaining expert. We'll have to do my reading on that pretty soon.
Another thing we've got to learn about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but with that, in the offseason always has different storylines. This one was magnified because of the House settlement, right? And revenue sharing going through in all these schools. Still trying to figure out, what is an NIL deal versus, what should you be getting directly from the school. And we're kind of seeing that yesterday, right? The coaches talking at Big 12 Media Day. Mm-hmm. All of them are still just like, I don't know. It feels exactly the same way, just more money going to the players. But when you look at these coaches, how they've handled the landscape, I'm going to go to the new head coach at UNM. And, Jason Eck and the model that he has been using, and it is a step up. Right, it feels like from the players to the coaching staff that they view, hey, University of New Mexico, to this point, this is the best, right? This is what we've done. We've worked hard to get here. What is the vibe that you've gotten now that spring's over? We see most of the transfer portal movement, and of course, some of the final additions when it comes to like the freshman class.
Yeah, I do want to add just on that kind of way you led into that too. I mean, like, I do remember Jason telling me at one point, it was like one player at Idaho was complaining like, when he transferred from like Notre Dame or something like that. He's like, well, at Notre Dame we had this and all that, and like Jason was like, yeah, like, I mean, I don't get paid like Brian Kelly, so like, what did you expect? Like, I mean, like, that's not how that plays. But in terms of them, like, I think something that's drawn a lot of attention recently in a way that I don't know if I've seen, with the exception of some like local recruits and all that, has just been the prep recruiting. This is a program that really wants to build through the high school ranks. This year they took on more transfers because they had to just simply fill the roster, and they had the opportunity to bring along a lot of guys they've worked with at Idaho and they've seen in the FCS, and they thought they were kind of getting, I don't want to say at a bargain, but they felt like they kind of had the edge there compared to some other schools. And but in terms of the recruiting run they've been on, I mean, just signing, I don't know if it's I don't know if they're ever going to do enough to crack the top 5, like the 24/7 recruiting rankings or anything like that, given how those are put together. But just the run they've been on, signing a lot of really talented, frankly, high school players has been pretty impressive. And it's been exactly what they said they wanted to do. They wanted to hit that hard and really get after that in that sense.
Yeah, and when you look at the team for the upcoming season, what I'm really interested in is, good FCS players can play at the FBS level.
Yes.
And then especially in the Mountain West Conference, your peers, you should be able to compete. And having that sense of, kind of as you mentioned, like this is the best they've had, taking that step up, being successful at the FCS conference. I know we get focused on the running backs so much, and we've talked about that just because that's kind of where the stats and the star power have been. Was there something over the last couple of months, even coming off spring ball or talking to the coaches, like an area that is going to be better than we expect with this football team?
Better than we expect. It's tough because it feels like the running backs are locked in, and like you never truly know until we get into the games, right? I think we've had a lot of years where prior coaches said this is gonna work, and it just doesn't happen. I think the last 2 years they've said, like, we're going to have a really good pass rush this year. And my goodness, it's been one of the worst pass rushes in the country. One thing that was really interesting to me, defensive coordinator Spence Nowinski is a very straightforward guy, very straight shooter in that sense. He flat out said, he's like, we're going to be able to cover on the back end. Like, we're going to be able to play man coverage, and that is huge for the defense that they want to run. He straight up said, at certain points in my career, I've been at places where we have just had to lean on zone so much. It has taken away a lot of what we want to do. He said, we're going to be able to cover on the back end, and that is with the safeties and the corners as well. I really, really like, what they've done with the safety room over the last couple months. They've had a lot of athleticism. I got to see a lot of these guys up close. Some of these guys, like C.J. Johnson coming in from Auburn, I mean, all I've really seen from him is just high school tape because he didn't play at Auburn. But at the same time, kind of seeing what he brings to the table, what Caleb Coleman brings to the table with the Texas State and all that, a lot of those kind of boundary safeties and all that, I think that's really interesting. And I do like, an overall philosophy thing, for them, they're kind of like their will linebacker, their boundary safety, those are basically the same guys more or less in a lot of respects. So them bringing like Quan McCray, who played some safety and linebacker at Jacksonville State, I think is really interesting. So I think, last year, given after what happened last year, I think fans will be happy to see a team that can get out and cover. We'll have to see if they can actually do it, but that's something that's been really interesting to me. I still have questions with the defensive line. I think UNM feels good about the O-line, and I think they have a lot of reasons to feel quite good about it. I think that kind of emergence of a good cover group would just go so far for this group in year one.
Well, Lobo football, a lot to dive into. The season starts August 30th at Michigan, and you look at that stretch, 2 of the first 3, it's Michigan and UCLA, Big Ten football. That's the way it is now, UCLA in the Big Ten. And you got Idaho State, New Mexico State. How do they come out of those first 4 games? We'll dive into so much across the board, Mountain West, Lobo football, but I want to talk about quarterbacks when we come back on the other side, especially the turnover in the Mountain West. What does that mean for really everyone trying to be that number 3 team? Is UNLV the second best team in the conference? What kind of opportunity is there based on turnover and the quarterbacks coming in to the conference? That's Sean Ryder, Albuquerque Journal, Zay Johnson, JJ Buck. It is the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. TurboThreads is a proud sponsor of ProView Networks.
Almost 30 years of experience means fast service, great prices, and a wide selection of apparel from t-shirts to performance sport shirts, even jackets and hats. They feature low minimums and no setup charges on most orders. TurboThreads is located at 1503 Golf Course Road in Rio Rancho, or find them on Facebook, online at turbothreads.com, or call 999-1234 for TurboThreads.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com. High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network. Every moment from every game from every sport, including all NMAA state championship games. Get your monthly pass now. Just go to ProViewNetworks.com, click on the NFHS logo, and sign up today. Watch New Mexico's best. We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
What's going on, Lobo Nation? Ja'Cory Cross-Camara here, and I'm Devin Dampier. The Lobo football team is going through some changes, but we're here to stay. We'll put in the work on the field and in the weight room, but we'll need your help off the field. 505 Sports Venture is leading the charge in the NIL space, and you can be part of it.
Shorty, she better than all my intentions. Locked in, shorty, you got my attention. See your baby, I get you the business. Touchdown and pay you a visit.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is Pro View. From pros to prep. All your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on Pro View Networks.
We aren't all born with the same opportunities. But it's the people who care that change everything.
Get ready, Sprout, get ready!
My coach, my teacher, my older sisters, my grandma.
Still going to be the leader in the clubhouse. And you expect them to be the preseason favorite. Now, UNLV, yeah, it's tight. It's Dan Mullen. They have a lot of power conference transfers coming. But as we've seen, there's not a perfect model. There's not a perfect way to do this. Because sometimes with power conference players, yeah, they were highly recruited, but maybe they never got off special teams. Thus, that's why they're available. Go to UNLV. And so, yeah, you can take your chance on a talented player, and you expect him to produce. The same way they look at UNM. And they got a bunch of guys that did produce at a high level, at the FCS level, but now they're coming in the Mountain West Conference. And what makes it intriguing is you go down the list, and we know there's going to be turnover, but there's drastic turnover across this conference. And so you can talk yourself into, could this year be better than expected in year one for Lobo football? And there's certain aspects are, okay, like this has to click for that to happen. And that goes to the quarterback position. It's opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, The Sports Animal. It's JJ Buck, Zay Johnson, joined by Sean Ryder, Albuquerque Journal, beat reporter for Lobo football. And that's really one of the biggest question marks across the board in the conference is quarterback play. You know, Boise State, Marcus Madsen coming back, he's proven himself to be that guy, to be that reliable quarterback. But then you run down the list, and you're like, all right, Brandon Fowler, Nicolsi, Colorado State. Is it talent, or is just he's the guy that's been there, done that long enough? What else you got? UNLV, brand new quarterback room, right? You got
Alex Orji, I believe,
the transfer from Michigan, and then Anthony Colandera, who was actually 162nd in yards per dropback last year. So that's, and you're like, wait, 162nd? How is that possible?
Not where you want to be. Not where you want to be.
Played. That's UNLV's quarterback room. You run down Nevada, Chuba Purdy, AJ Bianco in there. And what else do we got here? Running down the list. You know, okay, Walker Eget, Xavier Ward at San Jose State. Now, San Jose State feels like they're going to be pretty good. They're talking themselves up. But then I'm just Air Force, option offense, new quarterback. Fresno State, bunch of new quarterbacks in there. You know, the Aztecs have been looking for a quarterback forever. Wyoming does, you know, Caden Anderson could still be there. And then, of course, UNM situation. So you look at it and you go, like, all these teams feel like, hey, there's a path for us to, if we get it right at the quarterback position, be pretty good in the conference.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking about a little bit in the break, frankly. I mean, because, like, and I don't, you know, like, it's like there isn't supposed to be one truly barren team, right? You know, like, we'll see what happens to Utah State, but they have Bryson Barnes, who did really nice things for them last year. We'll see what the offense looks like this year. Micah Alejado, who obviously came up big against UNM for his career start. And, that's going to be his job. Caden Anderson did really nice things last year down the stretch, although he got hurt in the last game, but he should be good to go. In that, you mentioned San Jose State feeling good about themselves. I had San Jose State third in my preseason poll. With Walker, you get in mind, honestly. I felt like they were maybe like a couple players short of me getting them too, because I don't know if I'm all the way bought in on UNLV either at this point, frankly. But I think it's just kind of a talent thing there, and I'll give them that the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, I think you're dead on. Everybody kind of feels like there is a path forward in a lot of respects. I was listening to Jeff Choate a couple weeks back, pulling up some spring ball stuff, talking about Chubba Purdy and like what he could do with that offense and all that too. And it felt like for me, with all of that in mind, this made it like the hardest preseason poll to kind of figure out, with the exception of kind of Boise at the top. I picked Boise every single year and been correct at this point. Haven't had the rest of the poll correct most of the time, but yeah, no, I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how it plays out.
Who do you have two right now?
I have UNLV.
UNLV, okay. So.
But it's a very, and I'll write about it later this week, it's a very shaky two. Yeah. I don't think they are the absolute like pencil in, like it's going to come down right to UNLV and Boise and everybody else can kind of screw off. I think it's a pretty shaky two, and I would not be surprised at all if they didn't make the Mountain West Championship game.
And, ESPN, I was looking at the breakdown that they put out, Bill Conley, right, a little bit ago. And one of the things I really do like about it is because the transfers change everything. You can have transfers come in and play great right away. But the returning production does interest me. Like, all right,
yes.
What do you bring back? And so Boise State, they have the returning production ranking. So 67%. We're talking yards, offense, defensive players making plays. They return 67% of that team. So it's easy to pencil them up top. But then the highest number after that is 56%, and it's Wyoming. And the majority of the conference is 50% or under. And that is why, if you get it right, coaching staff, good transfer portal, like you can talk yourself into something. You look at the Lobos, and you manage those first few weeks. If you expect, all right, it's probably going to be tough at Michigan and UCLA. But Idaho State, New Mexico State, like you come out of those first 4 games 2-2, build some confidence. You have San Jose State, Boise State. All right. But then that final stretch.
Back-to-back on the road, which is tough.
It's tough, but then you say, all right, Nevada, Utah State, UNLV, Colorado State, Air Force, San Diego State.
Yeah.
Those are all teams that are not just outright better than you.
No, I don't think so. Until they absolutely prove it. Yeah. If you come out 2-2 out of that first stretch between, with wins over Idaho State as expected, and then New Mexico State, which would go a long way, obviously, for fans and all that too, to kind of get them locked into year one for the rest of the stretch, I should say. And then you maybe go to 2-4. You get Nevada at home for like the first time since like 2016, which is crazy to me. But I really struggle to see, from what I've seen out of UNM at this point and what I've read and heard about Nevada, how they could be all that much better than them. Colorado State to me is going to be really interesting. I think there's a world in which they could actually be quite good.
We saw the way they finished the season.
But that was also with the deal that they abandoned the kind of air raid that Jay Norvell loves. They wanted to just out-tough you. And I'm really curious to see where they find that balance again, because they decided we don't have Tory Horton anymore. We're not going to be that team. Like, we just can't be that team without our guy. And I'm curious to see. It did kind of surprise me to a certain point. Braden Fowler Nicolosi has been a guy that, I know he's gotten transfer portal interest in the past, and it did kind of surprise me they did suck around. So I imagine that they would be kind of going back to a little bit of what they've done in the past, but I don't know. They did get the ball under the belt, and I'm curious to see how that confidence kind of affects them.
And it's, that's why I look at, say, UNM, right? It's their offense. They want to run the football. If they can get the play action game going, it's competent quarterback play. That's going to be the biggest question.
Yep.
Even when you have that running back room, you still have to push the football down the field.
Yep.
Get to fall camp. What do you think happens with the quarterback position?
Right now, you want to say Jack Lane, the Idaho transfer, because he's the most experienced in that system. He's done very well in that system. He led them to, the FCS playoff berth last year. I forget exactly which round. I think it was the quarterfinals against Montana State. even though he was, injured for half the season and all that. Every time he stepped up, played very well. But James Lobstein is a guy that I don't want to say was a true afterthought in a lot of respects, but he kind of was. I mean, he was a guy that, that they brought in last year. I think he saw one snap last year, and it was on, I forget which game, but it was like a fake 2-point attempt or something like that, or a fake field goal or whatever. And brought him in, and with laying out with the elbow injury this spring, he was the de facto QB1 and all that. And honestly, I don't think his spring ball performance, his spring game performance, really kind of endeared himself to some fans. But those weren't the easiest conditions to play in, and they were kind of working with some different things on that offense. I'm curious to see, if he can really make a run. I think he kind of can, honestly, and I think that competition could help a lot, honestly, even if Jack Lane does end up winning. And then Cole Welver, the UConn transfer they brought in, very big arm, big kid, 6'6". His kind of, I don't want to say claim to fame, but something, pretty notable about him is that he does have experience, in pro-style offenses, both at UConn and also, he played for Jason Witten in high school and all that. That's what they ran. They ran a pro-style offense in high school. So he's kind of been molded into that, and that should only help him here. And he expects to, to come in and really compete for that starting job too. So I think it's going to be Lane. I think it's going to be Lane, but I don't know if I would be all that shocked if it wasn't, right? It doesn't feel like, Lobstein or Welver have a kind of a mountain to climb in a lot of respects. And we'll see, honestly, I have not gotten I'm expecting to get one next week. I have not gotten a Lane health update since the end of spring practice, frankly. I don't know if he's going to be on a pitch count heading into fall camp. I don't know if that's going to affect things that much. So we'll see where he's at.
Quarterback play always decides things in football. Look at the Mountain West Conference, the questions across the conference. You get it right at the quarterback position, and then you could look to be that number 2 team this season. 505-246-0610, Sports Animal Hotline and Text Line. Sean Ryder, Albuquerque Journal, hanging out with us this morning. Come back on the other side. We'll take a step back, big picture, some college football stories, and just how impactful the University of New Mexico has been for the Big 12 the last 2 years. We'll get into that next. It's Opening Drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
My brother. My tutor. My dad.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Boswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep, all your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks. The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream.
It's going to have Utah in contention in the Big 12, in my opinion. The opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal. JJ Bucks, A. Johnson, Rashawn Ryder, Albuquerque Journal. So the Lobos have been a big boost to the Big 12 the last couple of seasons. We saw what JT Toppin has done at Texas Tech. Now Devin Dampier getting his opportunity going to Utah. And anytime we talk about Devin, I will say arguably the best individual season at quarterback position in UNM history.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been more success? Sure. But an individual player, the numbers, what he did, what he meant to that team, I don't know if you can find a better season. So he's at Utah. And I know you look at Arizona State running it back. Kansas State has some good odds. But I believe Devin Dampier can play at that level. I believe he is going to be an absolute difference maker for Utah. But what do you think? You know, the transition is for Devin taking that step.
Not to compare it because it's the obvious thing, but it kind of is the obvious thing. Like, I think it's a different world. I think it's a way different deal in terms of success and all that, and the seasons that they have. They have, if you know, like Diego Pavia, right? If he just went to like Auburn and played for Hugh Freeze or whatever and tried to work it out in Hugh Freeze offense, I don't think it would have worked. But he had offensive coordinator Tim Beck, who came over from New Mexico State, knew exactly what Diego wanted to do, fit the entire offense around him, worked beautifully. Best season Vanderbilt's had, and I don't even know how long, frankly. This is kind of the same case with Devin Dampier in Utah. Jason Beck, offensive coordinator, no relation to Tim Beck, coming over from New Mexico, coming in as the offensive coordinator and all that, and kind of giving that offense a badly needed overhaul after the last couple of years. They don't have the Cam Rising cloud kind of in the distance. Like, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I think that's going to be the biggest difference. The fact that you have this OC and this quarterback that have worked so well together in the past, been so successful, maybe not in terms of the team record, but definitely in terms of the individual numbers and just what they were able to do on offense. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. And yeah, I'm with you. I think it was I think Devin was voted like Big 12 Newcomer of the Year or whatever. I would not be shocked if if he played his way into Offensive Player of the Year, because he absolutely has a skill set, just has to stay healthy. And I think the big thing with him is going to be, kind of keeping down the turnovers. And I wouldn't be shocked if he did this year. And like you, I don't know if you can call Utah like a dark horse or anything like that. It's the Big 12. I don't think anybody can be considered a dark horse. But at the same time, I would not be shocked either if they made a good run at the conference title.
Yeah, and you look at kind of where the Big 12 is. You have some good returning quarterbacks. Of course, Sam Levet, Arizona State, Noah Fafita, kind of tapered off at the end of the season, but there's still some high expectations with him at Arizona. Now, BYU has a giant question to answer.
Huge question. It's like Bear Bachmeier is like the kind of the go-to guy in that room now. Yeah.
But I'm looking at Connor Wigman, A&M transfer, going to Houston. Colorado gets the Liberty transfer in. Is Deion going to go with him? I think they brought both quarterbacks, like their freshmen and the Liberty transfer to media day. But that's it's those leagues. You look at the returning talent, but guys transferring in. I think it's going to be really interesting because you look at the college football playoff, and with the expansion and just opening doors a little bit more for everyone.
Yeah, you mentioned like Weigman too. Like honestly, that was a guy like I thought was going to be awesome at Texas A&M, and things just never totally clicked. I think I saw the quote from Willie Fritz today, and he's like, "Yeah, he's looking really good." Now, what coach is not going to say that? Hey, my quarterback's actually looking really bad. Salter is a guy, at Colorado that we know has been really successful too, at Liberty as well too. I mean, going up a level and all that, I think he can definitely do that. And I think you missed one name in terms of that UNM has given to the Big 12 as well too. Luke Weissong to Arizona. That should certainly help there as they try and kind of write off a pretty rocky season last year.
Yeah, and of course, and then there's going to be opportunities too. McMillan. Off to Carolina, being a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. And here's the thing. I think Lobo fans, when you see the success, of a JT Toppin, or the success I expect Devin Dampier to have, and now you can add Donovan Dent to that equation when we talk about going to UCLA. I think you tip your cap because you understand it's the nature of the game, but I think you're just left with like so many what ifs, right? I think that's the way it feels, more so than like bitterness or anything. It's just like what if? Because I know even with the Lobos, basketball getting into the tournament, winning a game, there's still people like, man, if you had JT Toppin in that lineup, and I think that's going to be the same thing. Like because I think Jason Eck, this coaching staff is going to set a good foundation, and I think there's pieces of this team that are going to look better than last year's team. Maybe even the defense. And it's supposed to be Broncos like calling card, but it's just going to be the sense of like, man, what if? Like, what could you have done if you had him for one more year?
Yeah, exactly. What could you have done if you had Devin Dampier, Luke Weisson? Like if you had those guys back for 1 year. I mean, what if the defense settles in a little bit more? Could Christian Ellis be like an all-league player? Could Noah Avenger be an all-league player? They're going to have opportunities at new schools now, but I definitely that I don't feel great for fans on that note. It's not an easy thing to go through on a seemingly year after year basis. It's just a tough kind of world we're living in with it.
505-246-0610 Sports Animal Hotline and text line for you this morning. Sean Ryder, Albuquerque Journal, beat reporter for Lobo football, bouncing around, looking at all this stuff. You can check out the great stuff he has on the Albuquerque Journal. Of course, reading through the roster previews. You dropped that with the offensive and defensive players, and it was phenomenal. I know I bookmarked it. I've been reading through it too. Need to read that stuff throughout the season. And when it comes to the coaching staff, and not just kind of the openness, but when you look at schematically, when you've talked to Coach Eck, you've talked to the offensive defensive coordinator, what kind of sense are you getting about just who they want to be and how their style is going to fit with what they've been able to do personnel-wise?
Yeah, I think it varies a little bit from offense to defense and all that too, honestly, but also kind of not. Obviously, look, they want to run the ball. Like, they want to win up front. That is the number one thing. They want to win up front, and I think you could say the exact same thing in the defense, frankly. They both know that it all starts up front. Everything is keyed off there. You could argue that the offensive line and the defensive line are in very different places right now, but we'll see how it plays out when they put the pads on and go to work, right? But they do want that element of toughness. They do want that element of reliability up front as well, too. It isn't quite the earn not given across the board culture that kind of Bronco installed in a lot of that sense, but I think there is a legitimate sense of kind of accountability and all that as well. And I think that's a pretty obvious thing to say. Every college coach is going to, want that and petition for that. But I think with all that in mind, there is I don't know if they're going to be kind of the, Dan Campbell bite your kneecaps off kind of team and all that, but I think there is going to be kind of an expected level of grit and all that too. Spence Nowinski is the guy that I name dropped earlier. I mean, he was the guy that said, hey, I grew up in a blue collar town. I've worked in blue collar towns my whole career. He's like, to me, Albuquerque's a blue collar town. We want to fit that. We want to match that with this defense. He's like, we call ourselves the defense. We call ourselves on defense the Mutts, right? And they certainly want to fit that. Offense, I don't know if you'll hear, offensive coordinator Luke Schleissner go quite down that tangent, but certainly, yeah, they want to win up front. They want to win battles there, and they, there's guys that they've given praise to for a lot of respects, not because like, oh yeah, he made this amazing catch, but it's like guys like Kader Jope. It's like, yeah, he's been blocking like heck, like on the outside, on the perimeter and all that. So there is that kind of expectation, and I think that's kind of there.
The Lobo football gets going August 30th, Michigan, game one of the Eck era, and also the last two Raw. Mountain West Conference, Mountain West Media Days next week. So the coaches, players are going to come through, do their thing, do their Mountain West media stuff, move on. But I am interested, the media, Gloria Nevarez, the just tension that there's going to be, I think, with some of the 80s too in that room, because Grand Canyon doesn't play football, but Grand Canyon is a new addition to the conference, across the board conference scheduling, and they're going to be playing for a championship. And that's another obstacle these teams are going to have to overcome come conference play. Come back on the other side. Got some big picture stuff to throw at. Sean Ryder is with us, wrapping it up next on the opening drive here on 95.9 FM, AM 610, the Sports Animal.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
Albuquerque's leader in sports is ProView. From pros to prep. All your favorite action. All your favorite talk shows. Find it on ProView Networks.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Networks.
The Yeller Sub, located on 7200 Montgomery Boulevard, serves breakfast all day long along with classic hot and cold subs. Don't forget about our shakes, malts and floats made with your favorite Bluebell ice cream. 45 years and still going strong. Come on down to the Yeller Sub, official sandwich of ProView Networks.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, red and green chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier sweet rolls. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenprideabq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs are proud supporters of ProView Sports.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gala Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
I'd like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible. For over 20 years, Evergard Roofing and Solar has been committed to customer service. Locally owned and operated, Evergard offers both commercial and residential roofing and solar services. For more info, please call 505-821-9543. Evergard Roofing and Solar are proud supporters of ProView Sports Network and New Mexico Youth Athletics. International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
Playoff, right?
Yes.
And yet there was just this sense of like this was some conference holding everyone back.
This
Just
stepping
really,
stone, we never really wanted to be here in the first place. Yeah. Like,
what do you? It comes down to it. Like you said, you're not. Yes, cover Mountain West teams. You're not trying to fly the Mountain West banner, but I'm really like, what was it really just calling yourself a Pac-12 team? Like, what did they really think they were getting $15-20 million a year? Like in a media rights deal? Like, what do you think the pool was so much for? Like, they had to make that move. They had to cut off the bottom of the Mountain West.
it's tough. I mean, like, certainly the money. Like, I mean, in that sense, like, I can't. The media rights deals on Twitter, like, occasionally, like, infuriate me and all that too. Like, the sheer discussion, not in the element of like, hey, here are the figures we're hearing that are being reported, but like somebody from a departing Mountain West school. And again, this is not me trying to tote the Mountain West line or anything like that. This is more of me just like being enraged by like poor logic. The kind of idea of like, you know, they're kind of like touting it like, oh yeah, like this is gonna blow the Mountain West deal out of the water. And it's like, well, you don't know that, and like we don't know the figures that they have quite yet. We didn't for a bit actually, but you know, I remember talking to I talked with a reporter in San Diego not too long ago, and they, you know, and I was like, you know, how do fans feel about this right now and all that? And they were like, you know, the thing that like and he went to San Diego State and, you know, grew up in the area, still lives in the area, and he said like, yeah, like I think the thing for me is that like, you know, San Diego State fans really want to join a conference with USC and UCLA in it, and Cal and Stanford. They wanted to be a part of that. This is just not that. And like maybe it, you know, I think people are definitely treating it as like it could be a step up for sure, and you'll certainly see that on social media as well. Mm-hmm. But it's not the promised land that people dreamed of for so long and all that too. And I think there's an element of that with Boise fans too, and other departing schools. But I also think, you know, on the other side, I think there's certainly fans of a lot of those schools that are bummed to a certain point that, hey, you know, we had a lot of good times in this conference, and you know, we won a lot of games and we had a lot of success. But, you know, we also love those games at the Pit, and we love those games, you know, at Moby and stuff like that. And, you know, it is just kind of an uncomfortable change, but it's changed nonetheless, and something that they can't control and something that we can't control.
No, but what we'll be looking at this year is definitely some great games on the hardwood, a really interesting football season, as we've discussed that. I think that, all right, there's three teams, and we can say Boise State, UNLV, San Jose State, that are probably talking themselves into, you know, oh, we could be an 8+ win football team. Mm-hmm. The reality is, I think everyone else is going to show up next week and go, we can get to 6 and 6.
Yeah,
yeah. There's going to be a lot of that next
week.
And just feeling like you get one of those things right, quarterback position potentially, as we've talked about, because there's so much uncertainty across the board, and try to make that run. Now, just big picture here in the last few minutes when you look at, you know, what's coming back. Now, at the very top, college football, and, you know, Penn State with Aller, Klubnik, Clemson. But the biggest one is going to be Arch Manning.
Mm-hmm.
Are you all in on Arch Manning? And now that his time has finally come, do you think he's going to be able to live up to the hype?
Yeah, I think so. Until he proves otherwise. I mean, everything I've seen from Arch Manning, everything I've heard about Arch Manning, everything, you know, I was watching the Manning Passing Academy clips last week and all that too. I mean, yeah, I think he definitely is the guy. Do I know if would I place a bet on him to win the Heisman at those odds? Probably not. Would I probably like sprinkle a little bit on Devin Dampier? Maybe. But if you're giving me those odds. But no, I think Arch will live up to the hype. Do I think they win the national title? No. But I do like a lot of the things that put them in the mix there.
When it comes to that, you're looking at the teams in the top 25, you're going through the AP poll. Any teams that really interest you?
Penn State.
Going into
Penn State. I am fascinated by Penn State. I'm very bullish on Penn State. We got to see how a couple of these receivers play out, because that has been kind of the stone in their shoe the last couple of years, just not being able to get those guys in particular. But if they've got those guys, man, they are going to be an exceedingly tough out. They are, and they are going to be really freaking good. So Penn State is fascinating to me. And then you mentioned Clemson as well, too. I think Clemson's going to be quite good. It's going to be the best Dabo team that we've seen in a hot minute as well. I'm very interested in Georgia, too. I don't know if I've seen a lot of true Georgia noise recently, but I think they got some good things kind of cooking over there.
Yeah, and the one thing with Georgia, it's always replacing the players they lost.
Exactly,
especially on defense. And we saw, the quarterback turnover, because the first two teams you mentioned, they got the quarterbacks coming back.
Exactly.
Was Penn State and Clemson. And so, what team that I'm interested in, and it's South Carolina.
I do like that. Returning quarterback, very good quarterback, a guy that's probably going to play in the NFL, frankly, and be selected in the first round, yeah.
So you're trying to find, all right, kind of those teams, especially with the expansion, the opportunity to get into the college football playoff. Now, when it comes to just money being spent, everyone's going to look at kind of Texas Tech.
Yeah.
It's like what they've been doing in the game and going, my goodness, how they've been getting there. But, and I know it was Media Day was yesterday, so I've been on a lot of the Big 12 just conversation and stuff like that. But do you see, Big Ten, SEC, just the depth of the conference changes things, right? There's just so many teams. But do you think we'll see, like, the Big 12, ACC, like a resurgence of some of the programs that we expect to be good this year?
If there's a year for the Big 12 to have that resurgence, headlined obviously by Texas Tech, I think it's probably going to be this year. We need to see it play out too. But it's all, the Big Ten and the SEC are actively kind of in bed together and kind of pushing to make sure that they have the model that they really want for the playoff and all that too. So I think that's kind of changing things a little bit as well. But no, I think if there's going to be a year for the Big 12 to really kind of plant their flag back down, it's plant their flag in the ground. It's probably going to be this year because they got the teams to do it right now. I don't know if Arizona State's going to be as good as they were last year, but another returning quarterback, Sam Leavitt, who was really stinking good. And we'll see what happens there.
And when it comes to that, and just playing the big picture game, conference alignment, moving this or that, the one thing that would, I don't say concern me the most, but I don't know if there's going to be another big conference shakeup. Maybe it's one of these schools thinking, the Big 12 is going to add a couple of teams, and I know UNLV has kind of been like, hey, maybe we'll actually be a Big 12 school as opposed to joining the pack. But do you think we get to a point where the Big 10 and SEC push enough to split FBS football?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely on the table, and it seems like they've kind of angled for that for a hot minute now too. Like I said, they're not quite working together out of the same office, but certainly, they have the same message and the same kind of, they're toting the same message, and they have the same kind of the ends to meet with kind of the work that they're doing recently.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where I can't wait to just any game start at this point in time, because there's always going to be stuff we have to talk about, cover, revenue sharing, name, image, and likeness, eligibility, stuff like that. But once you get the games, you realize, okay, this is fun. This is why we all got into covering this. This is why it's still really the second biggest thing behind the NFL now.
Yeah,
is college football. And you look at that though, and I know we've been all over the place. And appreciate the hour that you've spent with us, man, chopping it up. You're gonna have a lot more to talk about next week after Mountain West Media Days, but just in terms of kind of your checklist going into football season, especially kind of with the Lobos, what are you focused on, and kind of what are the things you're going to want to find out?
Figuring out the quarterbacks as much as we can before fall camp. Just getting everything we can on all those guys. I will have a story dropping at some point before fall camp. I believe fall camp starts on the 30th, and I need to track it down and figure out how I'm going to do it before then. But just getting as much information on the quarterbacks, because like you said, a lot of teams are feeling great because of, if they have the right guy with quarterback, things could go a heck of a lot easier for them. And I think UNM, they kind of need to figure, they have to figure that out. So definitely that. I'm very interested in learning as much about the defensive line, and they only brought one true transfer in, Jalen McIver, a kid from Jones College. But I know that, the defensive staff feels good about what he can do and all that too, even if he is a little bit raw. So curious to get dig into the weeds a little bit on that some more. And also just, next week we're going to have a pretty big window to talk with Jason just about anything and everything, more or less. That it's talking season. That's the point of it. Going to just cover as many bases as I can with him before we get into it. And we'll be putting all that content out too.
Albuquerque Journal, you guys do a great job. And again, if you haven't seen it, pop up the preview stories you did in the offensive, defensive rundowns of the roster, which is fantastic ahead of the season.
Thank you.
And of course, you mentioned talking season, and that's the one thing. As we wrap it up here, Coach Eck has been good. He understands. He's out there. He's doing a lot of stuff. How do you think the fans have responded so far, and just the response you've gotten to the last few months just with global football?
Oh, I think the fans responded really well. I think so. I think again, I've said this before. I think it would have been a different deal if Jason followed Danny Gonzalez. I think the fact that he followed Bronco and he followed the, not only the kind of acrimonious departure, but also the, just how Bronco was. Bronco, and I'll say this, one of the best public speakers I've ever been around in any context ever. Also a guy that was pretty guarded and kept things very close to the vest in a lot of respects, and that's 100% his right. The fact that Jason's coming in and kind of really embracing the fans, going to not just one, but multiple basketball games and really enjoying it, being active on social media, interacting with people, getting out in the community, it makes a difference, and I think fans are taking to it well.
Tune in. A ton of coverage on deck all season long with global football, but especially with Mountain West Media Days next week. Sean Ryder, Albuquerque Journal. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you for having me on, man.
Thank you for coming out, spending some of your morning with us. Zay, thank you for getting up, man.
Yes, sir.
Go play some college football. You can stay up later tonight because Symbieta is back tomorrow. We got Colin Cowherd coming up next. Jim Rome Show follows that. Tune in on at 4 o'clock, and Isotopes Baseball continues their series with Round Rock tonight right here on the Sports Animal. OD back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Adrian, appreciate you on ProView. Everybody, Metal, peace and love. Have a great day.
We would like to thank the following sponsors for making this broadcast possible.
Across the state of New Mexico, different journeys will begin. And when their journeys unite, together will become one experience. Our campuses across New Mexico in Portales, Roswell, and Ruidoso come together to provide you the support as one family. We are one family that share one goal, one opportunity at a time. We are One Eastern.
International Protective Services is a proud supporter of ProView Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. IPS provides residential and commercial security services in the Albuquerque metro area. For more info, please call 505-897-2420 or visit internationalprotectiveservice.com.
I'm a Blaze King customer, and I have been for the last 10 years. Blaze King stoves are very efficient, they're easy to maintain, and they use a lot less wood than you would typically use with a fireplace.
Blaze King, that's a fire.
The heat is on when it's a Blaze King wood stove, controlling heat up to 40 hours on a single load of wood with a built-in thermostat. See for yourself at either Blaze King showroom, Albuquerque and Santa Fe. Blaze King, and now that's a fire.
From the Sandia foothills to the banks of the Rio Grande, generations of families remain. For 5 generations, Gallus Chevrolet has handed down values written in stone, leading the way under sun-filled skies, past the vintage glow of Route 66. Built by generations past, built for generations to come. This is New Mexico. This is Gallus.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chavez, and this is my business partner, David Chavez. We are the owners of Indeed Safety. Indeed Safety is a local safety consulting company helping our clients with their safety needs for their projects.
One of the things we pride ourselves as a construction safety company is helping our men and women in construction get home safe every day to their families. Indeed Safety is a proud supporter of ProView Network.
You followed him from the first day he signed with the team. You remember the day he poured in 63 points? The night he played a sold-out concert to 30,000 people. The day he gave his infamous speech. That's why you believe in heroes. That's why you remember and collect their memorabilia. All in Autographs, where you can meet some of the greats, collect some of the greats, and share your own legacy. Visit All In Autographs, where you can celebrate the great and have your own piece of history.
High school sports are back. You can watch every ProView Network broadcast online on the NFHS network.